Car chases are dangerous and unpredictable. Viewer discretion advised.
We have breaking news, a pursuit now of an armed and dangerous suspect, and Desmond Shaw is overhead in Skycal. And Desmond, what I understand, he was driving at a ridiculous amount of speed earlier.
Yeah, we had heard about some pretty high speeds on this one, this Infiniti, this dark blue Infiniti, and at first we had heard that the want was for speed and obviously failure to yield, but we have learned more. It sounds like this may be a known suspect, and they believe that they could be armed and dangerous. It's not clear what the crime was that started all of this or caused the authorities to look for this person, but they say that 2 black handguns were used. So it's San Bernardino County Sheriff's deputies that are in pursuit of a potentially very dangerous person. And so that's a very volatile combination. You have a very dangerous suspect, and you have a agency that is known for being pretty aggressive, especially when we're talking about very serious wants. So we're making our way through the Rialto, actually Rancho Cucamonga area right now, westbound on 4th Street, probably going to get into some busy commercial areas. We'll see what the authorities are going to do, if they're going to try any spike strips or anything like that to stop the suspect. But we've come a long way. This started on the 15 and the 138 in the Cajon Pass. Looks like we are going to be getting back on the freeway here, possibly back onto the 10. Actually, excuse me, the 15 freeway we're going to be getting on here. So, yeah, this is definitely a volatile pursuit right now, Pat and Mike.
There's no question about that. You know, I'm wondering at any time, because I believe you were on a freeway earlier today. Was CHP involved in this in any way?
So San Bernardino Sheriff does not want to give it up. So CHP has asked if they want him to take over. San Bernardino Sheriff says, no, give it to us, which is not uncommon for the Sheriff's Department. They like to keep their chases, especially when the want is more serious. Now, they did ask CHP for a canine and to set up spike strips. It doesn't sound like CHP was ever able to get in position to do that. I also want to point out quickly, he's on the 15, which is where he came from. We know this started up in the high desert, the Victorville area, and then came down the 15, and then he went east on the 210, looped around the 210, and then came back westbound on the 10. So now he's northbound back on the 15. It'll be interesting to see if he tries to go back up to the high desert where this all started, or what his exact plan is. You see him flashing his headlights there too. I'm not sure, maybe trying to signal other drivers to get out of the way. The CHP got information from the sheriff's office out there that this is only one person inside of this. And again, as Desmond mentioned, it does definitely sound like they know who this person is. The car comes back armed and dangerous. And Sheriff's Department told CHP that weapons, 2 handguns, were used in the crime. They did not elaborate on what that alleged crime is, only to say that he had apparently 2 weapons on him, 2 handguns on him, when whatever that alleged crime was committed. Yeah,
which obviously that's more of an incentive to catch this guy and get him, in handcuffs because of that reason. And certainly, hopefully, we don't know if anyone was hurt actually, because we don't know, as you say, what the crime was, where those 2 weapons were used. He is now driving at, in the 80s on the freeway, which is not all that, well, no, he's going up to 100 now. I started to say not all that unusual if it's 80, but now he's in the triple digits, and this makes for an even more dangerous situation. Desmond, do we know, have we heard any more talk about spike strips? I mean, it's obviously more difficult when you're on a freeway like that.
Yes, we have not heard any more of that chatter. We have seen some very daring spike strip attempts at some successful ones over the years, though. Yeah. So it wouldn't be super surprising if they were going to try that. I do have to point out, though, that we are headed northbound on the 15 back towards the Cajon Pass, which is going to be a problem for us. Once we get up there kind of to the merge of the 15 to 15, we won't be able to follow it up towards the high desert. We did just hear, so it's Ontario PD that's over this currently, and we just heard them say that they have reason to believe that the suspect lives up in the high desert. So, this car was coming down from that area, from the Victorville, Hesperia, Apple Valley area, southbound on the 15. We came down here to Rancho Cucamonga, and now we're doubling back towards that area. So if this is going to continue much farther, not going to be good news for us. And we'll just have to see, we'll keep the vehicle as long as we can, but how authorities are going to handle this if it heads back up towards the high desert.
So it sounds that you said over this, so they have their chopper up, Ontario PD, but you've got San Bernardino Sheriff's on the ground following this guy.
That's right, and we did. San Bernardino County Sheriff's Deputy's helicopter was over this as well initially, but they left. Maybe they needed to go get fuel or something like that. Pretty sure that they do have night vision, so they should be able to continue up. Yeah, my pilot Dylan concurring with that. So I'm not sure if Ontario PD has that, but San Bernardino County Sheriff's deputies do. Obviously, you know, they have reason to have night vision goggles, lots of mountains and lots of different things that they, you know, might have to fly around at night. We unfortunately do not have that, but very expensive technology. But San Bernardino County Sheriff's deputies, maybe they get their helicopter back over this and keep eyes from the air. We'll see if, again, if Ontario PD is going to be going up into the Cajon Pass as well.
Okay, Desmond, you mentioned having a little problem for us in terms of our transmission where we are. That's an area that we're not able to get out of very easily. As you can see, it's pretty difficult there. So we're going to pick this up when we can. I'm go back to Desmond Shaw live in SkyCal over that pursuit of a person that is armed and dangerous with at least 2 weapons in this vehicle on the I-15. Anything new to tell us, Desmond, as far as law enforcement is concerned? I see they're still right behind them, San Bernardino County Sheriff's deputies.
Yes, northbound on the 15, we've only got about a mile or so left that we'll be able to follow this car, as it is pretty committed to going into the Cajon Pass now at this point. Just a couple more exits before we start climbing the mountain, or rather the suspect and the authorities. And, you know, if they're going to try a spike strip, I wouldn't be surprised if that's where they're going to try it, maybe somewhere in the Cajon Pass. On this one, I mean, we know that they believe that the suspect lives up in the high desert, and you know, now they're going to put 2 and 2 together that the suspect is headed back up that way. So they are still right behind this guy, and it's right now it's going to be Ontario PD and their helicopter that's going to follow up into the mountains. They too have night vision technology, and then, you know, San Bernardino County Sheriff's deputies, perhaps they're going to come back inbound as well. So armed and dangerous suspect. Never did get the want on this one, but, you know, could possibly be some handguns in the car. 2 handguns that were used in that crime. And you can see going by some big rigs here. And we are just about into the Cajon Pass here, northbound 15. Going to be making that merger with the northbound 215 here shortly.
And you know what? Since you said they know who this person is, well, they may know where he lives. So that's certainly more incentive for them to continue with this pursuit, and I'm sure, you know, even have other units as they get further up into the Cajon Pass to possibly be at this person's residence where he resides.
Yeah, and it definitely sounds like they have an idea, obviously, of who this guy is. They've got, obviously, some more information than they're sharing. There's a reason they didn't want to give it to CHP. They wanted to keep it for themselves. They obviously say they know that he's armed and dangerous, that handguns were used in whatever alleged crime they say was happening. So I wouldn't be surprised if they already have deputies near his home or his residence or what have you. This has been going on long enough that they certainly should, you know where that's at by now.
And you say they could possibly do spike strips that because of where it is, the Cajon Pass, not as much traffic at this time of night? Yeah,
not as much traffic, and I believe it gets a little bit more narrow through the Cajon Pass, not as many lanes, which is always what they have to contend with, right? When you've got the freeway and there's so much space for them to maneuver around the spike strips.
Okay, and Desmond, well, I guess, all right, Desmond, we're having a little problem getting Desmond's audio. So, Mike, I think we're going to go on to the weather. Back to that breaking news, a high-speed pursuit of a suspect armed and dangerous. And this is happening in the Cajon Pass. Mike, you've been monitoring this from the desk.
Yeah, Pat, and we are looking at our final moments of this chase. It's not going to be able to be seen from SkyCal. Des has already kind of doubled in here on the chase as it goes up to 15. The Ontario Police Department is still with it. The San Bernardino Sheriff that was chasing it originally is still following it. But yeah, it's going up into the 15 in the Cajon Pass where we were before when he came down southbound through here when this whole thing started. And again, all we know is that this was what they call a failure to yield, meaning he didn't pull over when they wanted him to. But Pat, as we've been talking about, they clearly know more about this guy, that he allegedly had weapons in the car as well.
And we were saying if they don't get him on the freeway, they probably know where he lives since they know who he is. So there's no doubt there's probably deputies at his home or where he resides also.
Yeah, and you can see this is now we're starting to kind of lose the shot here because the mountains are getting in the way. SkyCal cannot fly through this area at night because of the darkness. Luckily, the police ship, though, has that night vision technology that we were talking about, and they are following it through the pass. So we won't be able to have eyes on it, but at least law enforcement will.
And San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department is still following this vehicle, this person, because they know who it is.
Yeah, and they don't want to give it up. CHP has asked them a couple times if they want their help, and San Bernardino Sheriff says, you got some spike strips, great. Otherwise, we want to keep it.
All right, well, this is going to go, they've still got a ways to go.
Yeah.
They're still on the freeway right now. But again, we do have, I think we could surmise at this point that they will probably get this guy into custody wherever he ends up.
Yep, not letting it go.
All right, well, thanks so much for that, Mike. And with that, we are going to turn this over to KCAL News at 10. It starts right now.
And back to our breaking news now, the pursuit of an armed and dangerous driver.
That's right. We have an update from Mike Rogers at the desk. Mike, we understand that they may have deployed some spike strips.
It was actually a pit maneuver, and it was just conducted. And unfortunately, we're losing Desmond's signal there a little bit. We are in this very precarious place of the 15 freeway where it is hard for us to get a signal out of there. So, but I can tell you the car slowed down just enough, and I think we've got Desmond's pictures back live now, but the car slowed down just enough for them to be able to get up there, nudge him, and spin him around. We have not seen him come out of the car at all yet. This is kind of the situation. So now in addition to this dangerous chase of this potentially armed and dangerous suspect, you now have all lanes of the 15 freeway that are going to be shut down while they try to get this guy out of here and get him into custody. So still not real clear on what the exact want was and why they were chasing this guy to begin with. But we do know that the San Bernardino Sheriff's Office did not want to give it up, and they wanted to keep with it, and they did. And here we are looking at a pit maneuver now. Well, on the right side of your screen, from a distance, you see that San Bernardino Sheriff's car is able to get in there and spin him around. A really good pit maneuver. The guy does not continue, and then you see the deputies kind of swarm him and hold this right here. We are on the 15, right near almost the 138. So we were about halfway through kind of the Cajon Pass when this all went down, guys.
You know, I'm very surprised that they actually did a pit maneuver, Mike, with him being armed and dangerous.
Yeah, look, I mean, San Bernardino is a real aggressive agency when it comes to pursuits, especially when it's a want like this. They didn't want to give it up. They wanted spike strips. We actually saw when we were first over this, they were trying to kind of get in there and get a pit maneuver on surface streets. And I think, Desmond, are you with us? Can you hear us?
I am. We are way up in the stratosphere at 8,000 feet here to be able to get some signal. Very complicated here in the Cajon Pass, but kind of amazing that we were able to bring you that pit maneuver from about 3 or 4 miles away. You saw that. So, you know, I was talking earlier how we're dealing with one of the most aggressive agencies in Southern California, coupled with a very serious want with, you know, an armed and dangerous suspect. So regardless of the danger of, you know, putting themselves in harm's way, you saw sheriff's deputies, they had that opportunity there with the empty freeway. I think they were either holding traffic back there, maybe to try to do something like that, to do a pit on the freeway. There was also that construction back there that we saw that was slowing down some traffic. They have been talking about a spike strip at the truck scales, but the suspect, I think, drove right by those spikes. So that was ineffective. Deputies made the calculus. We're going to bring this to an end right now before they even have a chance to get back to their home territory up in the high desert, believed to be where the suspect lives. But it looks like a standoff situation now. We haven't seen, even though we're looking for, you know, really far, but looking to see if any, you know, hands out the window, anything, nothing like that. So deputies are out there with weapons drawn, probably lethal and less lethal. But we're not seeing any movement from the suspect at this point.
I mean, you can imagine this is a very delicate operation, Chauncey, with the fact that this person is armed and they don't want to approach that vehicle as aggressive as they may be as a law enforcement agency. They don't want to put their officers in danger in no way. So they're definitely taking their time and their precaution just to make sure that their officers are safe.
All right, because if I'm not mistaken, Mike, you talked about this suspect allegedly having 2 guns in the car, and you also have an update for us?
Yeah, we just just heard from the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Office while Desmond was talking there. We've learned that this happened in Hesperia. This is where the pursuit started after an alleged armed robbery at a residence. So some sort of home, unclear what exactly that robbery was about, what they may have taken or why it was a home and not a business. But that is what the San Bernardino Sheriff is telling us, is that preliminarily this started at 8:45 p.m. in the Hesperia area after an armed robbery at a residence. And we had heard on the radio that this guy allegedly had 2 handguns in the car. That sounds like how they knew a lot about him, was because if they were able to meet with the victim, I'm sure they got a lot of information about that. But they had said that during that alleged crime is when he used those 2 handguns. And we now know from the Sheriff's Department out there that it was an armed robbery at a home.
And Mike, you were talking about how the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department did not want to give this up.
Yeah, no, not at all. CHP is listening to the radio, and they were giving information to CHP just to be advised because they were on the freeway. But they asked CHP if they could have a canine and if they could help them out with spike strips. But that was it. They did not want CHP to take over. They wanted to keep this chase, which is not uncommon for the San Bernardino Sheriffs. We've seen them chase cars all the way into LA if they really want it. So they apparently really wanted it in this one.
And let's go back up to Desmond. It seems like we're here in this standoff. Desmond, do we know if there's only one person in this car?
It was believed that only one person was in the car. That's what we heard them say pretty early in the pursuit. Now, I did just actually see the suspect get out momentarily. It looked like they opened the door, had their hands out, but then they got back in. So still refusing to come out. I saw some people speculating that they think that they might be live streaming or something. It's something that's becoming way too common of an occurrence with these suspects in these pursuits where they get on social media and start giving their side of the story. So it looks like people are thinking that may be happening right now. Would not be surprised, but got out of the car briefly. Oh, look at this, trying to take off again.
Oh, wow.
The suspect is moving again. Wow. The bumper's hanging off, I think. And boy, this is pretty wild. They're going to come in and pit him again, I think. Yep, look at that. Another pit maneuver right there. Wow. So again, we're talking San Bernardino County Sheriff's. This guy's got to be careful. He's really putting his life in his own hands right now. Reversing on the freeway, it looked like he was going to drive into that deputy's vehicle right now. Pitted him twice, and the chase is back on. I can't believe this. Let's see if they're going to pit him a third time. Indeed they are. They're trying to spin him around here. Wow, they are not playing. They want this over. Let's see if they're just going to box him in right now. It's like bumper cars on the northbound 15 of the Cajon Pass right now. I wish we weren't looking at this from 3 or 4 miles away, but wow, that is really, really crazy stuff. A number of pit maneuvers, and now the pursuit is continuing.
Wow.
So that vehicle definitely was not disabled, and here we go. They're coming up on him again, like they're going to ram him again. I think they just slammed right into him. This is insane. I don't think I've ever seen the authorities do this.
Now it looks like they're boxing him in.
Him now. They just bumped him from every angle, and now they're surrounded. And again, might be out and running. Yeah, I can see a little bit of movement right here in that red circle. I'm not sure if they got the suspect in custody there or what. Obviously, so difficult looking from the distance that we are, but just a really, really crazy turn of events. And I may have lost my comms with you guys. Let me just toss it back to you now on the ground.
Gotcha. And Mike, we were talking about being surprised that they did this pit maneuver right there in the middle of the freeway when we were talking about a suspect who they called armed and dangerous. And now we go from one pit maneuver to, was it 3 right there?
Yeah, 3, almost, well, kind of 4 before they all just started sliding into each other and doing all that kind of stuff.
I've still got you guys.
Yeah, and you see the sheriff's deputies out and about. And I think Dez is still with us, but one of the things, because he's armed and dangerous, that's why they didn't fully box him in, right? Like in a typical pit maneuver, you'd spin him out and then you would have one car get in front of him, but they don't want to put themselves in that situation.
I mean, we were talking about typical. This is so atypical for what we might see, let's say, by the CHP in Los Angeles or in other jurisdictions. Obviously, we're talking about how Riverside County Sheriff's Department is known to be a little bit more of an aggressive agency, but oftentimes what we would have seen there is oftentimes them waiting for, SWAT to show up, their version of SWAT to show up, had that person stayed there. But it looks like they want to handle this, Mike.
Yeah, they have no interest in letting it go. Now you've got the traffic. On the right side of your screen, you're looking at kind of all of those various pit maneuvers that were happening. And I'm just listening. They're asking for CHP to get there and try to help with some of this traffic and get that traffic stopped, because that's obviously a very dangerous situation too. And you've got all of these officers that are, trying to deal with the suspect, not really able to deal with the traffic here. So I think Des is in and out with us, but it's just really wild, all these different types of
maneuvers. My goodness.
There's a deputy that is stuck in a vehicle, and it sounds like shots fired. Let me play this back one more time. Hang on one second. Yeah, so shots fired. Shots were fired at the end of this. I was worried that was going to happen. You got a guy that's using his car to ram into these deputies. San Bernardino Sheriff doesn't put up with that, and this is what we're now leading to. So
plus the guns.
Yeah, absolutely. So now we're talking a major impact to traffic as well, right? If there are shots fired, even if they didn't hit the guy, they're going to shut down the freeway. This is going to be a force investigation division investigation here. This is going to be a long night out there now.
Yeah, no kidding. When we cover these pursuits in Southern California, what we often see is officers taking a little bit more caution when we're hearing about an armed and dangerous suspect. And we knew this person had at least 2 handguns from an armed robbery at a residence from Hesperia earlier this evening at about the 8:45 hour. And this is what we're seeing at the end of it. These the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department officers going right into it, boxing that person in after attempting, actually they did multiple pit maneuvers, and the person kept on going. The idea of a pit maneuver is to hit that rear quarter panel and turn that car right around and then disable it. But that didn't seem to be working. Yeah, no, and I don't know if it's because the speeds weren't fast enough to trigger that with inside of the car. But now, we're sitting here looking at the picture. I would assume that the deputy that is stuck is the one in the front because it looks like the driver's door is kind of blocked. And again, these shots were fired. We don't know if they hit the suspect, but shots have been fired.
I don't know if Desmond can hear us or Mike. Do we know if the suspect actually got out of the car? I know at one point Desmond thought there was some action going on in that little red circle you indicated. Do we know for sure if the suspect got out of the car?
I'm not sure. I just saw that deputy running around over towards the center divider. When I had it highlighted, they suddenly kind of started charging over that way. Made me think that maybe the suspect had got out and was running. But then they kind of reconvened, and then we just saw them make an approach on the car. I think it was right around that time when we were seeing all that commotion when we had heard that shots were fired. And that's, what I was saying is that it's not an exaggeration that this suspect was literally jeopardizing their life, doing the kinds of things that they were doing on the freeway, especially when we're talking about the agency that we are. And when, the suspect is believed to be armed and dangerous, San Bernardino County Sheriff's deputies have absolutely no patience for any kind of shenanigans like that. And you saw how they immediately came in with a second pit maneuver, a third one, just started smashing into the car to bring it to an end. So now, we heard shots were fired. It's not clear by who, but just a very volatile turn of events, what looked like. I mean, it was already crazy enough with the pit on the freeway, like it was going to be a standoff situation. And, now we've got all this traffic getting involved as well. But it makes me think that the situation is under control one way or another. I'm not sure if Mike's heard a code 4 or anything. We may be dealing with encrypted frequencies as well. But just a pretty wild ending. And, now we've got lanes of the 15 blocked, and there's going to be a huge investigation about this one way or another, that's for sure.
Desmond, I mean, normally when we cover these pursuits, and I can't highlight it enough, we wouldn't see something like this. We wouldn't see at freeway speeds a pit maneuver. I mean, on the freeway at all, no less going at freeway speeds. I mean, that was something we rarely see.
Losing contact.
I think Desmond might be having a little trouble hearing us. He's up in the Cajon Pass, pretty high up there.
8,000 feet in kind of a canyon up there. It's not an easy place to be. But Susie, to your point, you're absolutely right. And I want to point out, if you can look, the Desmond's picture, to me, it kind of looks like they're beginning to maybe render aid to this person. You don't see them behind their car doors anymore with their guns out like they were. So if they did hit this person, it looks like they're kind of at the driver's door of the suspect car right now. So Trying to figure out, I'm just listening. Yeah, they're asking CHP to shut down the freeway now. But trying to see, is this guy alive? What's his situation? Was he struck? I would assume, based on what we're looking at and the way that they approached the driver's side door, that he probably is struck. If he wasn't, they would have ordered him out of the car. We would have seen more of that typical back with your hands up kind of situation. So the fact that we didn't see that and that they are up next to the driver's side door of the suspect car leads me to believe they probably struck him.
Did you hear that?
They are code 4. I just heard that. They are code 4 right now.
Okay. And Mike, it seemed like they had a lot of information on this suspect based on the alleged armed robbery that happened at 8:45 to have that much information about the guns and possibly the suspect. It seems like they had a lot to go.
It does. And it seems like, based on, like you said, all that information, they probably had a victim they were able to talk to get some of that information. An armed robbery at a home is a little strange. I don't know if it was a home invasion, but you see another patrol car has come and stopped traffic. So the sheriff's department is stopping it immediately right here. And then further back, they do have CHP bringing in a break as well. This is going to be, aside from everything that's going on, a huge inconvenience and pain for people that have to get to the high desert. You don't have a ton of other options to get up there. You could obviously go through LA County, through Palmdale, over the 138, but up into that area, you don't have a lot of good options. I think because of where this is, I don't even think there's a surface street that'll get you around that. I think this is the only kind of artery here. Otherwise, you're talking about going around through almost Palm Springs or up through, you could take up through Crestline, but a lot of those roads have been closed because of the fires. So this is not going to be a fun situation for a very long time. No,
this is going to be miles and miles of traffic for hours as the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department conducts their investigation. And this is a huge crime scene on the freeway. There was a shooting and a pursuit. So they're going to be looking into many things. And it's unclear right now exactly what is going on with the suspect. We haven't seen them actually get into a patrol car. There were shots fired. We don't know their condition at this point, but we do know that this is going to be a huge traffic mess for a long time.
Yeah, and just really quick, I want to point out where this is. If Desmond pulled out a little bit, it is just north of the 138. If it was any further south of the 138, they could get him off and get him back on. But because it's just north of the 138, they don't have that option to just have them go around it, which is really what's going to cause a lot of issues.
All right, and Mike, you said they call this a 10-4, so. And I'm looking at the scene right there and how close those cars are right there onto the scene. Apparently, those folks just have to wait it out for now. But does it give us some indication as to, the scene wrapping up, I guess the investigation wrapping up, and maybe a little insight as to what this suspect is doing or how he's doing?
Yeah, I mean, it's the active portion of this appears to be over. Yeah. They need to get that suspect medical attention because we are hearing that he was hit by gunfire.
Okay.
So that will have to come next. And of course, now you're going to deal with the fire department that's going to get stuck in this traffic as well as they try to get up there and get to him. So the threat to officer or deputies, the threat to the public is over at this point. Now you're talking medical aid to the suspect and then a very, very long investigation.